Hello, humane marketers. Sarah Znakrocha here. Welcome to another episode of the Humane Marketing Podcast, a place to be for the generation of marketers who cares. This is the show where we talk about marketing your business in a way that feels good to you, is aligned with your values, and also resonates more with your conscious customers because it's not pushy, ethical, and also beautiful. So if you're a regular here, you know that I'm organizing the conversations around the 7 Ps of humane marketing. And if you're new here and this is your first time, welcome. I'm so excited you're here. You may want to download your one-page marketing plan with the 7 Ps of humane marketing in the form of a mandala at humane.marketing/one page, the number one and page. So again, humane.marketing/one page. And with that, with no further ado, let's dive into today's conversation. Hey, Miriam, so good to speak to you today. I can't wait for this conversation about art.
Well, thanks so much for having me, Sarah. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you. So we were just recording an episode for your podcast, and now I'm on the other side of the mic, and I'm excited to kind of pick your brain around art and entrepreneurship, because as we just discussed offline, they have a lot to do with each other, and it really depends how you define art. And so I think maybe that's a good place for us to start. Why don't you tell our listeners how you define art?
Yeah, that's a great question. So my book is Artpreneur, but the truth is, in the way we're going to define art, every entrepreneur is an artpreneur and vice versa. So when I started writing the book, it had to be very clear. This is not just for visual artists, and then we made the definition very broad. Your art could be writing, it could be music, it could be dance, it can be ceramics, it can be fashion. But once you make that definition so broad, your art really is whatever product that you're producing. And so all I'm doing in this book is teaching people who don't believe that business lessons apply to them. I'm showing them, yes, they do. But the thing is, there's a lot of people who don't define themselves as artists who maybe look at marketing advice and they're sitting there with their arms crossed saying, oh, that doesn't work in my industry, or that doesn't apply to me, when actually it does.
Yeah. I was just going to say, like, when I was thinking, when I was preparing for the episode, I'm like, well, art and marketing it's not usually a good marriage, right? People who are artists, they're like, yeah, that's not for me, or maybe they do wonder, well, how do I sell my art? But what they see out there, they always feel like that doesn't apply to me. And so you're saying the same thing. That's what you're seeing usually
From
Why
artists.
Is that?
Well, you know what? I get a lot of pushback because I like to say, anybody who wants this can do it. Anyone with a dream can do it. And so what the pushback I get is, yeah, but what about talent? And here's the truth, Sarah. Marketing trumps talent every single time. We've all seen not so good artists succeed, or ones where like, we all seen that. And the same thing is true in business. Marketing is going to trump every single time. Like if people don't know about you, they can't buy your product or service.
Right. It's that saying, you stay the best kept secret. It's like, yeah, you're really good, but nobody knows about you.
Exactly. So, and there's a lot of examples in the art world. So there's this American artist. He may not be American. Damien Hirst. Is he American or is he from London? Okay. It doesn't matter because you don't know who he is. It's fine. He sold a shark in formaldehyde for like $1 million. Now, is that talent? It's like, I don't think so. So that is just a marketing stunt. And people who are creating like NFTs, like there was this guy who made this huge gold cube and put it in Central Park to sell as an NFT. Well, is that talent? No, it's a big marketing stunt.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Why do you think then that creative entrepreneurs struggle most with marketing, or what part of the marketing do they struggle with?
Yeah, a lot of it is the mythology. For artists in particular, there is that whole idea of they're taught you can't sell out, or like you're not a true artist if you are trying to market, which is complete BS, because we have a history going back to Michelangelo where he was very much interested in the commercial side of things. I mean, he's not just sculpting and painting whatever he felt like. He didn't want to paint the Sistine Chapel, but the Pope said, yes, you do. Here's the money. I'm going to pay you. So he did projects for monetary reasons. So it's not a sellout to create art that's marketable, that the market wants. So that is a big thing that holds people back. But I also see, and Sarah, tell me if you see this too, for women in particular who are socialized, and I don't mean only some women are socialized this way. I think all of us women are socialized this way. We're socialized to play small, to not desire money, sex, and power. I think that's probably more true in the US because of the tradition of Puritanism. This is how our country was founded, by that very conservative religion. So not to play small, and whether you're looking at images of thin women, the message that women are getting is not to take up space, and that it's wrong to want money. So that plays a significant role, because people will continue to sabotage themselves if they don't believe that it's okay to desire money and success, and to play a role and be visible and be big. So that is going to sabotage people if they're trying to stay quiet and small when they have, and also be visible at the same time. They don't work together.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm sure there's something on that belief level, right? I also think it's like something, right? Like I often talk about the right brain and the left brain. So I really also think like creatives' brains are wired differently, and they're, there's so much in the creativity that when they are then seeing, marketing advice that is very structured and follows steps, and they're like, this is how you do it, that's when they get turned off. They're like, no, but I want to be me. I just want to, it's kind of like almost rebellious. Maybe artists seem to be more rebellious in a way.
Yeah, I can see why you would say that. I think for at least for me personally, I found a lot of the marketing advice out there turn off because it was coming like it was very bro marketer. It was like, okay,
Exactly.
these very hustle style, whereas the best marketing in the world is being your true authentic self.
Right. Yeah.
So
In your book, you have this line, embrace your inner weirdo, right?
Yeah.
So tell us more about that, what you mean by that.
Okay. So the word weird, the original definition comes from Scotland, and it meant fate or destiny. And then you may recall in Macbeth, there were the three witches who were called the Weird Sisters. So then the meaning meant something associated more with fate, the supernatural. And as time went on and the supernatural became vilified, the word weird took on that negative connotation. So to be weird is really to embrace your destiny, to embrace what's really special about you. So I say, love your inner weirdo and be a weirdo in the most affectionate way possible.
Yeah. You also say, like one of the examples you mentioned in that chapter is share your values. And that's a huge part of humane marketing as well. It's like share your worldview, share what matters to you. People don't typically see that as marketing. They always think, maybe especially artists, they think, oh, you have to talk about, this art piece or this book. I've written a book and now I have to constantly talk about this book. Not true. If you share your worldview and your values, that is part of your marketing, right?
Oh, for sure. So there are a lot of artists who are afraid of speaking out. So I live in the US. We have very divisive politics, and they're worried of losing business if they have one point of view and they express a view that other people might get them upset. So for me, I'm very progressive. I have a lot of liberal views. I'm not worried about alienating people who are conservative. Yeah, I may alienate some people. There are some diehard conservatives, though, who like I've had some words with and they're still following me, but people respect that more. And what happens if you don't share your values, they're going to assume. So right before we hit record, Sarah was asking me, so you just had an election. What do you think? And I don't know if you were like trying to see where I was at
No,
on that
I
political.
knew from reading the book, I knew.
Oh, okay, right. You read my book. But
Yeah.
but let's pretend you didn't now.
Right.
And I said, oh, and I gave a very wishy-washy response. You might assume that I don't care about politics, when meanwhile I care very deeply about the
Right.
unraveling of women's rights and what I see happening. So
Right.
it's important to dive deep into that. I was very impressed. Billie Eilish went on record on Instagram telling people to vote and why this was important.
Yeah.
Other people saying vote, but only if you agree with me, but yeah, it's really nice to see some people who have big platforms not being afraid of alienating people, and the ones who are very big on all parts of the political spectrum are not afraid of being polarizing, because you can love me or hate me, but when you're in business, there is no money in the middle. And when you're trying to please everyone, you're just striving for mediocrity.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's so interesting. I follow Guy Kawasaki. You see who he is? He's kind of the, past Apple and then Canva. He's just a spokesperson now pretty much. And he just really shares his political views. And just, I think before the elections, he's active on LinkedIn, or that's where I see him. And he was saying, check your influencers. What are they saying right now? Are they saying, go vote and, here's what's really happening? Because go vote, that's kind of an easy out as well, because that doesn't really share your worldview
That's
either.
correct.
So he was, being more specific. So are these influencers telling you who to vote for and why it matters? Or are they telling you the latest car they bought, or, which mansion they're staying at, and all of that kind of stuff that we're so used to from the bro influencers, right?
Yeah.
And I thought that made a lot of sense. That's exactly the worldview that we're interested in. And we're not so interested in, the latest car you bought and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's actually a very significant population that the data shows, they're called the conscious consumers, that they do vote with their pocketbooks.
Of course. Yeah.
So they're checking, and they don't all have the same causes that they care about. Some people care more about sustainability of a brand when they're shopping. Some care more about inclusion. I know that when I receive a clothing catalog, if it's all white women, I throw it out now. Like they don't care enough to have diversity in the catalog. I don't shop there. So there is a large percentage of people who their values matter. And what matters is that the brands are doing it in an authentic way, not like, oh, so this is Gay Pride Week and here's your rainbow smoothie or whatever, because people can see through that. It's how you're showing up all year long that's going to matter.
Yeah. Yeah. And the reason, again, we're bringing this up is because oftentimes creatives don't realize that that's part of marketing.
That's right.
Yeah. And it's not just the, follow these 3 steps to market your art. It's a whole package. The other
That's
thing
right.
that you mentioned in your book is honor what comes easy for you. And I love that. That's kind of like my motto for life, right? And so you have a funny gardening story in there. Would you mind sharing that? I think that's such a good example of how that works.
Yes. Okay. So I live in New York City. I'm staring at a brick wall right now, but we do have a farmhouse 2 hours away. It's in the Catskills in New York. And my husband started a garden when we first moved there. And he went to the nursery and he spent, I don't know, a couple $100 on plants, like these starter plants. And then when we were at the counter, he just grabbed a couple of seed packets. So the seed packets we just scattered in. The plants, it made a mess in the back of my car with the dirt. I wasn't happy about that. And we spent a good back-breaking afternoon putting in these starter plants. Well, a couple, whatever the time span was later, the seeds were doing really well. It was like Jack and the Bean Sprout, like all these stalks came up and we had beautiful string beans. The starter plants, on the other hand, like all the bugs ate them. So it was like, here's a situation where the seed packets were the easy way to go, and they actually were the best result, whereas this harder, more expensive thing didn't work out as well for us. But we do this a lot in our business where we try to make things so hard, and we have something that comes easy for us, and we think that couldn't be as valuable.
Right. Yeah. I just love that story, I guess, because I'm not a big fan of gardening, but my husband is. And yeah, I would just totally throw some seeds out there.
That's right. Well, it was like the
That's it.
sunflowers came from seeds, the green beans came from seeds. We tried something else this year. I forget what it was. And it was like, yay, seeds.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny how we often say, it's kind of a metaphor, plant a seed. And I love that also for marketing, where you might just have a conversation and you're not actually pushing it and trying to sell them something. But in your head, I just planted a seed and this might turn into something bigger that you weren't even expecting. So I love the metaphor of seeds as well. So
yeah, that's a beautiful metaphor the way you
seeds.
just used it.
Yeah, yeah. Another thing that I know that you love is email marketing. So it seems like you really built your business based on email marketing. So maybe because right now I feel like people are still understanding, okay, yes, email marketing is a good strategy, especially with all the talk about social media going down the tubes and Twitter disappearing and all of that. So how does one start an email list today? Starting out as a creative, how do you actually get people's attention? Because I do feel like there's a lot out there. And I know that my people, they're like, yeah, but there's so much also crap out there that I feel like I give my email and I get this one pager that is not even valuable. So what would you say? What would you tell creatives how to get started?
Well, let me just start with that last example you gave. Just because you meaning the listener, had a bad experience with somebody's janky email doesn't mean you have to emulate that.
Right.
You be that bright spot in someone's email where they look forward to opening your emails or they love the freebies that you're sending them. You're the one who has control over that and can make a difference.
Right.
One thing I like to tell my clients, or what I talk about in the book, is emails are really love letters to your audience. And that is the best way to nurture a relationship.
Right. So when you work with clients, when they ask you, well, so what do I create? Do you have some great examples of what creatives created as a download, as a free?
Yes. This was a very important chapter for my audience because there is so much advice out there for people who are weight loss coaches. You give them a cheat sheet or a menu and I have no idea what it is that they want. And they come up with things that really have nothing to do with what they're ultimately selling. Like I'll see artists have screensavers or something. It's like, yeah, but you're not selling that. So that is not, and also people don't want your screensaver. They want their kitty as their screensaver or their kid or their dog. So the things are people, again, this is where people make it way too hard for themselves. So for my audience who are selling products, one of the best things to give away is just early access. So you don't even have to create something. And this does work. So a good example of this is in April when the war first broke out in March, and then Easter in April that year. Sansky eggs, which are Ukrainian eggs. I don't know if you've seen them, but they're very intricately painted eggs. This was cut out of the preview book that you got, by the way. I think we put it back in for the final version.
Okay, yeah, it doesn't ring a bell, you see.
Yeah, so
I thought you were tricking me, but no.
No. Yeah, so we had it in, we cut it out, we put it back in. So there was this artist creating eggs, and she sells them for over $200 each. And they're absolutely gorgeous. These very intricate, and they're made by using, I think, like a toothpick and putting batik on to make these fine lines and doing this dipping process. So she was completely sold out at these prices. Now people are going to want to join her email list just to find out when they come back in stock.
Wow.
So people who are creating one-of-a-kind things, this is something that is a reason. If you're selling a service like a class, it's a reason enough that people want to be on the wait list when it opens up. So that's like the easiest place to go. If for the visual artists out there, I love the giving people a postcard with your art on it. That does require the person giving you their email address to also give their postal address, which is more of a commitment, but that means they're more serious about your art. And again, everything that you're giving as your lead magnet needs to be a free taste of whatever it is that they're ultimately going to buy. So that's why I said a screensaver doesn't work. Artists who give away coloring pages, that only works if you're selling a coloring book. If you're trying to sell something else, not a great idea.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just trying to figure out how, the Etsy website, how does that play into the whole I'm an artist and I'm selling my art? Because Etsy, it's its standalone website, and I see a lot of creatives putting their art up there, but then how would they still build an email list and then say,
Yes,
okay,
absolutely.
It's now available on Etsy?
Yes.
Something like that.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So that is why I encourage clients to build their own website, because if you're going to have to drive traffic anyway, you might as well drive it to your own site.
Yeah.
The artists who do well on Etsy are driving traffic there.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Sarah, do you want me to circle back to the lead magnet thing? Because we can also discuss what lead magnets work well if you're not a visual artist, like what I use in my own business. Okay.
Yep. Let's do that.
So of course there's the free masterclass, but one thing that I've done that works really well is transcribing the masterclass and turning that into an ebook without the sales pitch, but basically giving the same exact content. So think about all the different content that you're giving them. How can you repackage it and give the same experience, whether that is a masterclass? Some people prefer to read the book,
right?
Like whether it's Harry Potter or the movie, like some people rather read the book than see the movie.
Right.
So to give them different experiences.
Yeah, I like that. And then I guess, for you, I don't know if you've set that up, but the free chapter for the book is usually what you do when you have a book. Have you set that up?
I haven't set that up yet, but I probably should.
You should.
Yeah, I know. I probably should. I have to talk to my my publisher about that.
I feel like people, they like a free download of the first chapter and then decide. Of course, on Amazon, usually you can kind of see the first couple of pages, but it's not the whole chapter usually. So
yeah,
it's helpful.
You want to hook them in. So
Yeah.
what is it that you can give away that will hook them in and want more of what you got?
Yeah. Now, just yesterday in my Humane Marketing Circle community, we talked about actually having freebies without getting people's email. There seems to be a trend of, because people kind of feel like, well, it's not really free if I have to give my email. And so my people, they're like, oh, I want them in my world, but I want to have options. I want to have maybe one thing that they can just download for free and then come back for more. What do you think about this strategy?
Well, you're taking a big chance that they're not going to ever come back again. It's kind of like a one night stand.
Yeah, it could
Like
be, but it could be
you're
that
on
you're
it.
so good on this one night stand, since we're going with this example, that they want to come back, right?
I
Because
mean,
they're like, they're really
that's the
interested.
problem that I see with TikTok. It's like the death of and Reels on Instagram too, but let's just talk about TikTok. It's the death of the scroll.
Yeah.
So, and I know entrepreneurs are spending a tremendous amount of time creating content for TikTok
Social
and
media,
social,
yeah.
but especially those videos, they take a lot of time. Now, if you've been on the consuming end of those videos, you know that before you get to that end of that video, they're already making you push up to the next thing. So I found that I can have thousands of views on a reel with nobody going to my profile. And I had an artist who created a viral reel. She got 45,000 views without anyone, like maybe a couple of followers, but nobody going to her website, because you can see the stats. Now with TikTok, the followers there are completely meaningless. You can have, you can follow someone and never ever see their content ever again. So somebody who has millions of followers, that's not a relationship with millions of people. It's kind of a meaningless metric. So I would be very wary of trying to build a relationship where you're not in control of getting in touch with them ever again.
Yeah. Okay. It's interesting. And I totally agree with social media. People spend so much time on there, and oftentimes entrepreneurs are exhausted. And to go back to do what's easy. Well, social media nowadays is not easy anymore.
No,
if
it's
you really
not.
want to get something out of it. So I think it's important to say that not enough people actually say the truth how it is, and it's not easy to build a following, or never mind a following, just a business on social media today. So in your opinion, then, what's the best way? Where would a creative, an artist, an artpreneur start when they're just starting out their business?
Well, build that email list. And I want to circle back to a question you did ask, but I don't think I really answered. It's like, well, how and where do you start? And there are only 3 ways to build your audience. There is what I call your universe. So your universe is anyone you come into contact with, whether it's in person or online. Then there are other people's universes. So that could be like what we're doing now, Sarah. I'm on your podcast. You came on mine.
Right.
So that's basically, other people call it earned press, earned publicity, and which is free. And the third category is paid publicity or paid platforms. So those are the 3 ways. And I don't think there is any other way other than those 3 areas: your platform, other people's platforms, and rented platforms.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I know that, but explaining it this way, it feels like, okay, if you're just starting out, you got to start in your own universe.
Yes,
because you don't have the credibility yet to go, or you can start with the paid, but
that's also correct.
Yeah. But you don't really have the credibility yet to go out there and say, okay, can I be on your podcast? Or or not just credibility, but maybe also confidence.
Well, actually, let me circle back. So you can get free press, and I did that even in the very beginning, but you need to start local.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So you can't jump the ladder. It's like, it'd be great to be on Oprah,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah, there's different levels. It seems
exactly. Like there's
yeah,
things like, I would love Brene Brown to invite me to her podcast, but
yeah. It just kind of goes the same with anything in life. It's like, oh, am I on this level, or am I evolving to future levels? Yeah.
and that's why we should talk about something which I don't think I talk about in the book at all, but who knows, maybe if I write another book. Who knows? So that's why I spend so much time building what I call relationship capital, because the way to get to expand outside of your universe and get some of those earned opportunities is by building relationships, which is why joining communities like yours, Sarah, is so important. Like those relationships can help you. And I never have regretted investing in paid programs, paid masterminds, because those networks have been hugely valuable. Don't you agree?
Oh yeah, totally. So much so that, the partnership is the 7th P of the Humane Marketing Mandala. Because I really think partnership is the way to market and collaborate with others. And what you just said as well is there's different levels within partnerships as well. There's the free levels, which is peers, and then there's the paid levels, which is mentors and coaches, which again, it's just like these unwritten rules. You probably can't go to ask Brene Brown if she would, feature you or something, because there hasn't been a paid relationship. For some things, there just needs to be a paid relationship for them to pay attention to you, because, they have so many people they could be paying attention to.
Yeah. And one thing that I think is very important, especially now with, let's just say it like it is, the demise of easy social media,
right,
is I think it is very important to have your own platform, because it's one thing to get media, but it's much better if you are the media.
yeah.
If you have a YouTube channel, if you have a podcast, and by the way, blogs are coming back. I have been reading people's blogs posted on LinkedIn. That seems to be the new thing. Have you noticed that too? That trend? Everyone's like running to LinkedIn lately.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
I've been on LinkedIn for years. That
I've
was my
been
first
there, but I
business,
haven't been like consuming the way I started to. It's like, well, that's a good article. Like, because people are actually putting some quality things there.
Yeah,
So
that's
be
true.
the media, and if you want opportunities, give opportunities to people. Like if you are one of Sarah's coaching clients, invite her to your platform.
Right.
Am I putting you on the spot? Is this going to be edited?
No, this is all good. No, we're
Oh,
not
okay.
editing that. Well, we are editing that, but I'm not cutting anything out, because
Okay.
this is a human conversation. So
Yeah.
no, totally.
So let me, instead of putting you on the spot, I'll just talk about myself. So when I joined masterminds and I started a podcast, I had my first guest was my business coach.
Right.
Then I could say to my business coach's friends who were like kind of jumping a level here, they weren't my level, they were my business coach's level.
Right.
Hey, Jason Van Orden was a guest on my show, and I'd love to have you on as well. So now this is already giving me credibility, because my business coach said yes to me on my podcast, which was an easy yes for me. So now somebody says, oh, well, if Jason was on it, I'll do on it. And then I went to the third person. Hey, Jason was on it and such was on it. Would you like to come on it too? So it's like, this is how we build that ladder of credibility, is starting with your own network, starting with peers. And then you can just go up that ladder with baby steps.
Yeah. So good. I feel like you just said blogs are coming back, and I was also thinking art is coming back. I really feel like, so maybe the question would be like, why does art matter now more than ever going forward?
Yeah, well, because we're going through such an existential crisis in the world, and art is what gives us meaning.
Yeah, so good. And that would have been a nice ending, but I want to come back to that to that one point you made when I was on your show about in marketing, we always talk about these pain points. And you have such a good point about
well, I'll let you explain it.
Okay. So this is like, it's not that marketing doesn't apply to creatives. It just maybe the way you've been taught is not the right way. So we're talking about the bro marketers. And a lot of them also, they say, find the pain point and twist that knife. Like, if you heard it, but that's what they say.
Right.
All right. So, but the problem is when you're selling something that gives people pleasure, like let's say I'm the producer of Harry Potter. I'm not going to market the movie by saying, well, their pain point is they're bored. Watch Harry Potter. It alleviates boredom. But you don't do that.
Right.
So, or what's the pain point of the Oreo cookie? Nothing. We just want it because it tastes good.
Right.
So, and that doesn't mean that your art has to be all rainbows and daisies, because there's plenty of art that is dark and goth and emo, and people get a lot of pleasure from that. But instead of worrying about what people's night sweats are, what their pain points are, what's keeping them up at night, you got to think, what are their wet dreams? What is it that they really want, what they really desire,
Yeah.
and sell that pleasure.
Yeah. And that ties in with why art and pleasure is so important right now, is because, who wants to open their email and find out how much they suck and how much their life is miserable, and because they're not this and that and not enough. No, like you said, we're living in a crisis, so we want positive reinforcement, not negative reinforcement. And I think all the right brainers, that's what they're bringing to society right now. Yeah. Wonderful. Well, do tell people where they can find your book and your website and all of that.
Okay. So if you like this conversation, you will also love Sarah on my podcast, The Inspiration Plates. I'm not sure I don't remember whose is coming out first.
Me neither.
But yeah, but
We'll
you can
link to
find The
it.
Inspiration Place. If she's not there yet, just hit that plus sign or the follow sign and you'll get it very soon, because we had an amazing conversation, which was completely different, I think, than what we talked about today. And my book, Artpreneur, is available. There's a lot of pre-order goodies. So I hope you'll check that out. Artpreneurbook.com.
Wonderful. Artpreneur book, all in one word.
Yeah, that's the website to get the book, or just search Artpreneur. But you get bonuses when you go to my page. So
there you go.
It's all about the freebies.
I always have one last question, and that is, what are you grateful for today, Miriam, or this week?
Oh, that is such a beautiful question. Did you tell me ahead of time I would have to answer that?
No, I did not. I put you on the spot because we all have to have something that we're grateful for.
I am very grateful for my family right now. I'm grateful that I have a husband who lets me be weird. I'm grateful for my children who don't give me too much angst. They're adults, by the way. And yeah, I'm very grateful for my family.
Wonderful. Awesome. Thank you so much for being here.
And I'm grateful for this opportunity too. Let's just say that too.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks so much for watching and being part of a generation of marketers who cares for yourself, for your clients, and for the planet. We really are change makers before we are marketers. So go ahead, be the change you want to see in the world. And I hope to see you again next week. Take care.